Welcome back to another If the Spaghetti Sticks podcast. This is episode 6. Can't believe it. I'm your host, Lauren Ruggiero. This podcast is different from every other podcast because I walk and I talk about life stuff, being in the 20s, and my ADHD brain. So, this morning, beautiful morning, I have a lot happening in terms of like everything. You know, it's like when you wake up some days and you're like, wow, life is just really overwhelming. That's what's happening today. It's a little over the whelm today. I looked at apartments this morning, just a few in the Philly area, and a little bit in the New York, trying to figure out where exactly I want to be positioned here if I'm going to be spending like a lot of time, like a year or so in that area. I want it to be comfortable, you know? And then I also had breakfast down at work, and my boss, I have like 3 different bosses, right? And, the video that I made for the work, they were like, oh, like I want something, to change. And then like my other boss was like, oh, it's good. Like, upload it to YouTube whenever, like blah, blah, blah. So like it's already uploaded. It's done. And now I have a person saying they want it changed. And it's really frustrating because there was no communication about it. No text message. Hey, like when we get in person, we'll talk about it, or, So it's really frustrating when there's no communication, because now that I'm in a healthy relationship and I know how to communicate and I know why communication is good, I need it now. Like, I need it in a job situation, I need it in a relationship, and I need it in like family, friends. So it's like really annoying when it's not communication, it's frustrating because now I'm used to the like good communication, but I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it and I need it. So, but whatever. I don't know. This job that I work at now is just not the best at communication, especially the higher up you go, communication is just not there. I think that's how it is with every job, but I don't know, man. It's just really frustrating when jobs don't communicate until like the last minute, and it's just like, bruh, really? Like, you couldn't have told me, sent me a text, called me even, like, no. Nope. Ooh, but it's okay because I have like 45 days left until I get to go on a new adventure, and I'm seeing elephant seals this weekend. Dude, it's gonna go so crazy. I'll make a video about it probably at some point, but yeah, I'm backlogged on videos right now. My YouTube channel, Adventures with Lauren, is doing better than it has been in a while, and mostly that's due to the fact of I'm posting regularly. Mondays and Fridays I'm posting, and then I try to do shorts every day. So there's that. So I'm trying to like backlog everything because I know that once summer hits and my camp job is in full bloom, I'm not going to have time to like do these YouTube things. So I'm trying to stock up on videos so that it automatically just posts on Mondays and Fridays for me so that I don't have to worry about it. So that's something that I'm trying to, get done recently, so that I could stay inconsistent with my whole uploading schedule and everything like that. And for podcasts, I'm going to try my best to backlog these, but sometimes you can't really force podcasts because you gotta really know when to speak and what to talk about and everything like that. So it's difficult with podcasts, but I'm trying so hard. But so recently I was watching a couple of videos about artists, And I was like, shocked, because I was in some of these people's lives, like Prince and the artist Andy Warhol and his buddy Bakujak, I think is how you pronounce it. Is really hard to pronounce. But him as an artist, and like how these artists and their workflow works. And it's crazy because like every waking moment, these artists are working. They're working on their art from the time they open their eyes to the time they go to bed. Like everything is just art, pure art. And I love that. However, it's very life consuming, I think. And I don't think those people had a really good work-life balance. But I think if they did, they wouldn't be as successful as they do now. I mean, Prince has a whole freaking vault of unreleased songs. Like, it's wild to think about, like, all of the work he's ever done is in a vault. Just like, what? And I was even looking at newer artists like Emma Chamberlain and, Billie Eilish and some of their workflows. And it's just like, dude, I guess if you're like an artist, you just have to create every single day. Like there's no cheat sheet to the famous thing or getting your work seen. You just got to create every day and then keep pushing it out every day, grinding, So I'm taking that into consideration. And I'm definitely doing a little bit of something every day to not only challenge myself, but to also make sure that as much as I'm consuming, I'm also creating, so that my cup isn't always overflowing or it's not empty. So I'm making sure that in that aspect, I'm getting balanced and I don't get dry spells like most artists do sometimes, like writer's block and stuff. And then I came across something that was even more interesting to me. Like, as one does, a whole YouTube wormhole. You get into the next video and then the next video and then the next video. And somehow I ended up at the question of, when is it okay to quit? And that has such a bad aura around it because nobody likes the word quitting. I think it's more so of like letting go, and quit is such a harsh word. And I think many athletes, many artists, many people who are creative, or even if they're not creative, in the workplace, quitting is frowned upon, right? It's looked down on. And I think it's really interesting because I have the same worldview about quitting. And I think it's the same around the world. Like when you quit at something, it just means like you stop, you give up. I think that's what quitting resembles, is the part where you're giving up. You're giving into whatever you've been fighting for or whatever. And I think quitting should be more about not as much giving in, but more so pivoting and changing trajectories. Like, I've always thought about it as there's a few times when quitting is available or allowed, because there are moments when you gotta quit. There's moments where it's just not suiting you anymore and you have to quit. There's a lot of situations actually in life. And when we do quit, it's like, gosh, the world is ending. Like, we did such a bad job. Like, we just give up, right? And that can come from a lot of things, like whether that be a sport, whether that be a relationship, whether that be even a homework assignment or a project you were trying to finish, there are moments when quitting is, I think, allowed. And again, I don't really think about quitting in a bad aspect. I think of it as we're pivoting, we're changing trajectories, we're changing. It's not really backing down and belittling yourself. Gosh, I'm getting out of breath. I'm walking in a different place and it's got hills. So let me talk about like some of the things that is okay to quit, right? It's okay to quit a relationship when it gets toxic. It's okay to quit when your job becomes toxic or not benefiting you in any way anymore. I think quitting is okay when anything in life is bothering you or making your mental health suffer. I think it's then when you're okay to quit. And I'll talk about like a few times where for me, I just had to quit. One of those times was when I was playing college basketball. I don't like to talk about this necessarily a lot because, you know, when you tell people you played college basketball, they're like, oh, really? Like, you know, what position? Like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you know, like what were you doing? How did it go? Like, what team? What college? And there's such a big hype around college basketball and playing. And there was a certain point when I was doing the whole college basketball thing, right? But it was freshman year of college. I had a roommate. I was living away from home for the first time. I was trying to figure myself out identity-wise still. I was trying to figure out myself in terms of like my sexuality. Like I was battling a lot with that. And also like, you know, coming out to people. That was a really scary thing for me. You know, especially because, you know, my family and, you know, certain people around, like what they would think. I just had a lot on my plate freshman year, you know, doing well in classes and stuff. And it's not that I didn't love basketball, because I did love playing basketball, right? It was just, you know, I wouldn't get a lot of playing time, and I felt like, you know, I had the chance, I had the opportunity to, you know, like I was supposed to, you know, be on this team, and I was supposed to, you know, get money eventually. Like I was a walk-on, but I was, you know, told that if I did well, I would get money. And so like, you know, I started doing the preseason stuff, you know, all the workouts, all the practices, you know, and I was like deemed on the practice team with three other freshmen. I was one of the three. And like we wouldn't get a lot of playing time, and well, some of the freshmen did, but I didn't. So it was like a whole repeat of my high school days, which again, I sat the bench for like 2 years, right? Just sitting the bench, you know? And then my senior year, I finally got the opportunity, and I did really well, and I got news articles about me and stuff. So it's like, I didn't want to repeat that same high school, you know, misery. So I just, you know, I was having meltdowns every day. My mental health was poor. I was physically hurting myself during those times. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do the working, you know, my butt off. I was the one who benched the most, like bench pressed the most out of all of them. Like, you know, I was putting in the work, right? But I just had a lot of distractions, I think, at that time, and my heart wasn't in it. I was really finding my way with video. I wanted to do video just every day. So I quit. I went into the coach's office. I said, listen, I don't think that I belong here. Like, I don't think that I'm gonna continue forward. And then I didn't, and then I just ended up being the basketball filmmaker, photographer, video person, highlight reel maker, I guess. And then COVID happened, and that kind of all fell apart. The team fell apart. The coach quit. It was like it was a whole thing. But I decided that like I physically couldn't do it anymore, and I mentally wasn't there. So I felt like it was okay to quit. And I hated it. I hated quitting because I was like, man, like I'm such a letdown. Like, my dad always wanted to play college basketball, and I'm good at it. Like I can do it. And my brother's playing college basketball, and I'm just gonna be like a letdown in the family because I'm not gonna be in the basketball gang anymore. So it's like it was a lot of pressure. Okay, sorry, my camera just cut out for a second. But anyways, as I was saying, yeah, it was a lot of pressure. I was dealing with a lot of things, and I just mentally wasn't fit for it anymore. So I was like, okay, like it's time to quit. It's time to pivot. It's time to change trajectory. It's time to just let it be. And that's what I did. And I hung up my basketball shoes, and that was that. I didn't play a single basketball game since, which is sad, but also it was needed at the time. I think I made the right decision in doing so because I was dealing with so much. And I mean, another reason too, like things weren't, going well at home, it was like right before my parents' divorce and everything, like, yeah, it was wild, right? A lot of stuff happening. You get it. So continuing on, yeah, so that situation, I quit. I don't want to talk about this, but I kind of have to. Another situation where I had to quit was in my past relationship. I should have quit the first go around, and then I got back together, and then things just got bad. And I didn't know necessarily when to quit because, I was trying to like listen to people's opinions, but I was also trying to like listen to my own. And, I was really sad at the time because I wanted to move. I wanted to go out. I wanted to experience life. And the relationship wasn't giving me that, and it wasn't giving, and, we were just in different points of life. And I should have known when to just throw in the towel with that one. And I didn't, and I learned from that experience, but I eventually did quit because I was like, I just can't do it anymore. Like, A, it's taking a toll on it mentally. B, I'm not in this stage, that point in my life anymore. So it was time to quit. It was time to throw in the towel. It was time to let it go. And so I did. That's all I'm going to say on that one. There have been several jobs where I quit, right? Like, I mean, I've been through so many jobs. I've, babysitting, lifeguarding, retail, film jobs, freelance, photography, videographer, it's, and then now this job. So I've been through a lot of jobs, right? I know the whole dynamic, right? And with jobs, it's a little bit harder because that's what's financially supporting you. So it's kind of harder to tell and to know when to quit with the job situation. But I think for me, the thing that helped me kind of make my decisions on quitting a job is to take money out of the question, right? Because in the end, you can always find another job. It might not pay as much, but it'll do for them. And take money out of the question and decide whether it's helping you or hurting you. Hurting you in terms of like mental health, mental clarity. How much time are you spending at that job? Like, do they allow right amount of breaks? Like, do you think you can continue doing this? Like, is it contributing to your happiness? There's lots of factors. I think for me, when, quitting a job or knowing when to just stop, for me, I think it's always been a question of, is it suiting me in my life at this point, in this stage right now? Is it helping me or is it hurting me? And a lot of the time I would think about my mental health, right? I would think about what is contributing to my mental health the most and kind of pick apart that first, and then go into all the other details about like money-wise and location. Because with this job, I definitely learned a lot about the like location and the job. And I think that like if a job is taking a toll on you mentally, so much so that you're miserable, I don't think it's worth staying in that job, even if the money is good. I'm always a big believer in doing what you love and the money will follow. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm a believer in it, okay? So I'm trying to, make peace with that. But, I'm also trying to kind of lead with that as well, in terms of, like, am I happy with it? Is this job really doing it for me? And if not, then I say, okay, like, maybe I'll just stick it out for, like, 2-3 more weeks, depending on money, and then I'll leave. And it's been as simple as that. And even if it's a job that you like and, like, people are weird or, like, creepy, it's always a matter of, yes, you're doing what you love. However, is it worth it? So it's just always a matter of, is it worth it? How is it taking a toll on you? And could you stick it out for a little bit longer and try to figure out another job or another opportunity while you're in that? And I think that's always what I've done, is I've always had a job lined up, or I've tried to have a job lined up. And even right now, like, I'm gonna be quitting this job mainly because the location is pretty, right? It's beautiful. It's not where I want to be. The place that I live at is not up to my standards. But I took this job because it was a learning situation, both for, location-wise, do I want to live out in California? And also relationship-wise, do I want to, or can I live with this person? And do I want to spend, more and more time with this person? So for me, this job was figuring out locationally if I liked California, if I wanted to move here, and also, relationship-wise, can I work with this person? So I took this job because it was for external reasons, right? This was just a job. This was just to financially support me during this time. So it worked out. However, I've learned a lot about, California, and I've learned a lot about my partner and my relationship, and if things are going to work out or not. I think we've got it covered, because we are. And so now I think, that I figured those things out and I've learned so much, I think it's time to leave again, find something new, something more up my taste, like more with social media or video or something with that process. But also finding a place locationally where I feel comfortable. Like, I don't feel comfortable here. And I've talked about that on, like, the first episode, I think, not being comfortable here. But I've learned so much. It has served its purpose. And so that's why I am, therefore, quitting this job or not coming back for another season. Because I think, I could do something better, do something more. And I have a job lined up for summer. So that's also helpful. But after summer, I have nothing lined up. And I'm planning on moving after summer. So I think this is going to be the first time in my life where I'm going to be doing something without anything lined up for me, job-wise, which is scary. You know, I've always been taught to have something to go to, right? Have something job-wise, financially supporting me so that I don't have to worry about that. But there's two of us now, right? So, you know, the odds and the chances are a lot higher, which is nice, you know, but I also don't want to rely on my partner either. That's not something in, you know, the books for me. So when you're, you know, trying to know when to quit or when to do something new, it's always a matter of checking with yourself, checking yourself financially as well, and see where you're at. And also environmentally. If the environment is not suiting your brain, leave, or at least try to. Make an effort. You know, and I know some people aren't in the financial situation to leave, but there are jobs out there with housing. There are jobs out there that can help people get out of those situations. The jobs may suck. Don't worry. Don't get me wrong. The jobs may suck. However, there are jobs out there that you can, you know, live anywhere you want or pick out whatever state you want to go to. And there are jobs out there with housing. So people can, you know, get that experience without trying to, you know, do the whole apartment hunting, paying rent, and so on and so forth. You just kind of have to worry about food for you. So for the people out there who are like, you know, we don't have money, like it's not that easy. It is, you just have to look for it, you know. But I think now it's in this day and age, it's harder because nobody is hiring. Literally nobody's hiring, except for like restaurants and coffee shops. Nobody's hiring. Like all the, you know, business stuff, it's hard to get a job now. And I think people and parents don't understand that because, you know, unless you're in a profession that's like die-hardly needed, like nurses or doctors or, you know, people like that, yeah, it's easier to get a job, right? But for us people who are, you know, trying to do our little artsy-fartsy creative stuff, it's hard to get a job. That's why they call it the starving artist. And I live and die by that name because I'm doing it right now. I think knowing when it's okay to quit is very good. Those are some of the strategies that I use to know when to quit. But I also, you know, try not to quit because, you know, my family, which I feel like everyone can relate to this, is that my family, you know, always pushes me to, you know, stick it out, keep going, you know, and not quit because, you know, quitters quit, like, you know, and I know some people can be like, oh yeah, like my family's like, you know, quitting, letting my family down, like quitters are not allowed in this household, blah, blah, blah. My family's not like that, but they definitely push for you could stick it out until like the end of the job and blah, blah, blah. Although this time when I told them I wanted to quit at this job, they were like, yes, you can quit. I've seen where you're living. I know the aspect standpoints, you can come back. I'm like, and then I sit with the feeling, and I'm like, I just can't quit. I gotta stick it out. It's not much longer. I think I can do it. I was just having a little meltdown, panic attack, girly moment, okay? So this time, you know, it was a little bit different of a situation. And now that I'm older, I get to think about these, you know, decisions a little bit more maturely because I have these fundamental processes now that I can understand and like break down and stuff. So it's a little bit easier making decisions by myself, I guess, now that I'm older, now that I'm in my scary 20s. But yeah, so quitting isn't bad at the end of the day. Quitting is just ultimately changing what you want to do, changing trajectory, pivoting, and maybe, yeah, you might have to take a few steps back to go in another direction, but ultimately, I think it'll be better off. You'll be happier, at least for a little while, and then you'll probably have to change trajectory again. It's a part of life. It's what happens. And I don't know. I think a lot of people get scared about quitting, especially people with actual big girl and big boy jobs. It's scarier because, more is at stake, especially when you have a family. It gets even tougher, which is why I don't want to have kids because then I won't have the freedom to just leave. I'll have to take a lot more into consideration. But I don't know. That was just kind of like my perspective on quitting. There's probably definitely been a lot more instances in my life where I have quit certain things. But, I think that's just a part of life. Like, I wasn't giving up or giving in. Like, I gave 100%. Like, anything that I do, I do with 100%. Sometimes I go a little extra, like my art. I try to do 150% just because I really care about it. It's not about the giving effort. It's just the idea of giving in, I think, and changing is the scary part. But, it's all what life is. And, going through these decision-making skills and, doing these things, I'm definitely learning a lot in my 20s, as one does. But yeah, let me know, like, if you guys relate to this at all and the idea of quitting, and even if you're an artist or not, the idea of how you quit, when to quit, and also why you quit. Throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing if it sticks, and if it doesn't, then I leave. I change, pivot. That statement is just so true. Anyways, it has been another episode of If the Spaghetti Sticks. I have a Patreon page if you want to go and support these videos and my YouTube videos. I would really appreciate it because I am moving soon, so, anything helps, truthfully. I have a bunch of my photo collections because I'm getting into photography, and I have short videos that are really funny, just of like blooper stuff. And I also have actual videos weekly that are uploaded. So go check them out. It's really fun, really cool. And you also get to speak to me directly, which is nice. Thank you all for watching and listening and tuning in. I'm your host, Lauren Ruggiero, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day.